have been obviously close with Hugh, so close that you came here for an off-field position. What is it about him that creates that loyalty from you?
Well, first you've got to start with your belief that he can be successful. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in a sport, you got to win, and that we're going to be judged and evaluated by our ability to win football games, and Coach Freeze has proven that his entire career. He's won everywhere he's been. Just going with a person that you believe will drive a culture that's in alignment with our individual values, certainly within alignment with my individual values. Doesn't carry the day completely. You have to be with a guy that you know or believe that can be successful, and that you can have a part in that for the job description that he's asking me to do, and to make sure that I do everything that I can to help him and the rest of the staff be successful. That's number one. Would be, can we win? Does this guy have the credentials that proven his ability to do that? I think secondly is I'll give you a story real quick. When I interviewed with Coach Freeze, I was out of football. When I left Canada, I wasn't going to get back in, and I turned down a couple of jobs. And he called, and I just sent him a quick text, say, "Hey, congrats that you're back in. You'll be really successful, and the game needs you, and no need to respond. Just want to give you well wishes." And he, of course, as Hugh always does, he hit you right back, with the text. And we subsequently talked. He said, "Listen, I'm recruiting in Dallas. I'll fly on through to Nashville. If you'll come out." I was living in Nashville at the time. Come out and speak with me. And so I told him I would, and I went out there. And the short version is, I sat with Coach for an hour and 15 minutes. I know because I looked at my watch, and just talked with him one-on-one in a private room. And about 15 minutes of that was on football. The rest of it was on my life, what I had been through in the last several years up in the CFL, running the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and my personal life, everything. He didn't say a word about himself the entire time. And I already knew how successful he was. I knew how bright he was as a coach. I left that meeting saying, there's two things I know three things really that were key for me. And one was I knew he'd win. Secondly, I knew he would hire men, he would hire good men, not just guys that could coach ball. A lot of guys can coach ball, but guys that are trustworthy, trustworthy within, the confines of what they've been asked to do, for their position within the organization. And third, I knew that he would do it the right way. I've been around some guys on all ends of the spectrum, right, with respect to how they run things and the culture that they create. And a lot of guys that I didn't agree with, good coaches, but I was just at a stage in my career right now. I just wasn't going to go work for anybody else. It had to be a guy that knew how to build it the right way and to do right by his players and be player focused first and foremost, and then hire guys that understood that. The best coaches, in my opinion, know clearly that this game is about the players. It's not about them, and doesn't mean that you can't have an ego and be driven, but for success, individually. But if that supersedes your desire to unselfishly coach your players and get them to the level that with the talents that God gave them, you don't get it. And Coach Freeze gets that more than anybody else I've ever been around. And so I decided I'd be a part of that. So I got back in it, picked up my stuff, went to Lynchburg. Yeah.
How good is it being to be back on the field?
It's great. I tried to do the best in the role that I was given, but it was limited, obviously, limited by rules and other things. I've always been a quarterback coach, even when I was the head coach for many years. I still coach the Qs. So it's great to be back on the field. I've got a great coach with me, and Jesse Stone, who does a tremendous job. He's got an unbelievable future ahead of him as well. We're really fortunate to have him, in that room as well. So, love the game, love being back on the field coaching, and certainly love coaching that position.
Did you have any hesitation about coming here for an off-field position?
I'd probably be not telling the truth if there wasn't a little bit of trepidation on my part with respect to that. Just not knowing if that, that absence of being an on-field coach, a true on-field coach with a given position, would hurt me. With that absence for a year would hurt me in being able to, to get back on the field. But I wanted to be a part of this. There's not many places in the country, honestly, that you can say have an opportunity to win a national championship. I mean, there's not many, and it's a pretty exclusive group, I think, and this was one of them. And I wanted to be a part of that, and wanted to stay with Coach Freeze, and I knew the staff again that he would build, and wanted my new family, my relatively new family, to also experience that as well.
I feel like that would have stung a lot of men, because you won a Grey Cup as a head coach, and you've done a lot as a head coach, and then to be essentially an analyst. I know you were doing a lot, but you're an analyst here. A lot of people wouldn't be able to do that, but you were, because you believed in his vision, right?
Yeah, 100%. And when you're as old as I am, you realize that I used to make 3 and 5 year plans, and not a single one of them ever worked out the way that I thought. Honestly, there's always curveballs, and it's really your ability to adjust and continue to strive for success. I think with a proper attitude and heart behind it, that matters. And it's not always going to work out your way. What matters is how you deal with the situation, and when you look at yourself in the mirror, what is looking back at you, and you're proud of that, right? And even with all the flaws that I have, which are more than anybody else in this building for sure, it wasn't really the ego part of it has to be put on the sideline. If you want to be a part of something and you agree to the position that you're given, then do that job to the best of your ability, as unselfishly as you can, and then just see how it works out. Because I knew down the road, who knows what's ahead of my career, and it just happened to work out. But it might not have as well, and that would have been okay, because I decided to be here and to help Coach Freeze win.
Kent, when you think of last year's offense, I guess from your perspective, what were some of the issues in creating consistency and an identity from your vantage point last year, and how can you fix that from now your new role this year? How do you turn it around?
Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question. It's our. I'll just say this: it's our job as coaches to ultimately get our players to play to the best of their ability. And what we know as coaches is kind of irrelevant if our players don't know it. And I really truly believe in teaching and teaching the game. Specifically regarding my room, if you don't have the prerequisite skill sets to play, physically at this level, it doesn't really matter at that point. You're not going to play here anyway. What matters is do you know how to play the game as a quarterback? How do you conceptualize the offense in a way that when you layer the defense on top of it, and what defenses are trying to do to take away the offense, can you put our offense in a position to be successful through great decision making? So you've got to be a teacher of the game in a way that is a deeper level of understanding typically than any other position. I think that's required in coaching the room. I think it was a first year. There were obvious first year issues in getting to know our players, understanding their ability, putting them in a position to be successful, like we talked about. We had some deficiencies offensively. I won't, talk specifically about that, but there are some deficiencies that, other good football teams, exploited and took advantage of, and that some of it you handle through recruiting and getting better players, and so there's always a growth, right, in your first year, going into year 2 and year 3, that will show up on the field with consistent coaching and consistent development.
Kent, Payton went through some adversity last year, I think it's fair to say. How did he handle it at the time? Did you have to help him with anything to get through it, and how has he sort of come out of that?
Payton's a really competitive young man, which we want. We want quarterbacks with grit. He at times, most of the time he handled it well. He's a pretty mature young man. Other times he didn't. And but I'd rather dial a guy back in than have to dial him up. From that standpoint, the thing that people don't realize is that Payton did things on the field simply because of his experience. That some of those given situations weren't even covered for him, right? And I'll give you an example to crystallize it, so you don't think I'm just talking in vague terms here and trying to avoid your question. If you look at the drive against Alabama, we're down on the 6-yard line before they got the ball back after we dropped the punt. It was 2nd and 6. I remember 2nd and goal from the 6, and we had a play designed to get the ball to the back with a crack on the boundary side to the single, and the entire week, all we did is set up the defense for that throw. We never came back to the field side through receiver pattern to the field in practice. And I had just mentioned to Payton at the end of the week, I said, listen, that play is going to get called because we repped it a bunch. If you see their corner even looking to crack replace and to replace the linebacker that had the back man-to-man, assuming we had man coverage, you got to get off that because they're going to make the play and it could be a disastrous play. Now, we didn't rep it. We didn't show it on film. He went into the game. This is the recall this guy has. We went into the game. That's exactly what they did. He saw the corner turn his eyes to the tailback and kind of start to stop his feet. He spun immediately and threw to our slot receiver on the back line. Actually hit our receiver right in the face mask and it bounced out of bounds. It's game over. We go up 28-20 at that point. They've got to go down the field. We still have to drop the punt. They've got to convert a 4th and 31, and then they have to go for 2 to just get into overtime with us. I think the game's over at that point. Well, nobody sees those things. I could list you 100 of those things that happened last year that he did for us. Now, did he have his struggles? Of course he did. And hopefully we'll have a level of consistency this year in that room with him, where some of those things are squeezed out of the offense.
What have you seen from the younger guys, the other quarterbacks, besides Payton?
What do I say to him?
I said, what do you see in practice?
Oh, what do I see? I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Number one, we've got a room that clearly understands the key to the vault as a quarterback, and that's preparation. Our guys will prepare. They'll pay the price to prepare. They'll study. They ask questions. We drive to the why on everything. I mean, they need to understand why we're doing things the way we're doing it, and what we're doing conceptually, why it's designed to defeat the defense that's in front of us. They need to understand the why to everything and drive to the why. And the only way you can do that is to prepare. And guys at this level, if you're going to try to play quarterback at this level, and you're not going to spend the time to study the game and to increase your knowledge of the game, especially the nuances that happen at quarterback, that only happen either through experience or through massive film study and communication with your coach, you're not going to be successful. And all of our guys in that room have those qualities. So that's one. I think we have a talented group as far as passers are concerned. All our guys are naturally accurate. We have size in the room. They've got really good arms. We're trying to get them to make quicker decisions to be able to deliver the ball when the defense is most out of position before they have a time to recover and converge after pattern reading what we're doing. in the passing game, but they're good men. They don't get in trouble. They're off all the academic lists. I mean, they're on top of their situation. They're mature guys, and a room that I think has one of the top qualities you need to have as a quarterback, and that's trustworthiness. You know, do we trust you to put you out on the field and run our offense? And I think all of those guys have a level of trustworthiness that can continue to grow.
How hard is it, having played the position yourself, for guys to stay in that focus when they're not the guy, which means they're probably hardly playing?
Yeah, it's not easy, but at the end, you know, it's still the ultimate team game, and I think you can have a balance between striving to be the guy and to be the starter and to have success individually for your team, but also be a great teammate if that's not working out. Some individuals understand that balance because it really comes down to maturity, and also comes down to what is that individual's heart. I mean, is he typically unselfish or not, or is he inwardly focused and, you know, is just going to be an entitled, you know, jerk, right? And so I think it's a balance that you can strike, because when another player is on the field in your position, you should support him, right? Because what it comes down to is just the team winning, and you need to understand. This is where Coach Freeze is so great, is helping. One of the areas where he really, I think, does well with the players is helping them understand that that the team is bigger than them, and that they need to be a part of something bigger than themselves. All the guys that I've coached that had great success at quarterback had that attitude. They were unselfish guys. They cared more about the team than they did about their individual stats, and they just wanted to win. You know, they were about winning. I think our guys in the room, although they want individual success, they want to be the starter and believe that they are the ones that can help us win. They need to trust the process, need to trust the coaches, need to trust the head coach on who he's putting out there, and then unselfishly build into the guy that is playing at that time to help him be successful, so we collectively as a unit and as a team can have success.
Ken, on Payton, how do you quantify, or can you quantify not going through spring last year, where he arrives in the summer and then has to just—
That's a big deal. It's a big problem.
And then compared to now getting to go through the spring, like how much difference is that?
Yeah, that's a really great point. Missing spring, even as smart as he is, missing spring put him behind. There was a detriment to the ones that were here. Having another spring under his belt, we're moving obviously to Coach Freeze's offense, but there's a body of work, there's a background of knowledge of offenses that always bleed over into other offenses, right? So he has a body of work and knowledge base that can help him pick things up quickly. But what he's getting right now that he didn't get last year is multiple reps, right? He's learning his players. He's learning the new receivers. He's learning the quality of our guys up front. How we're going to call the game, because he studies that way. So you have to play the game at quarterback from an anticipatory standpoint. You can't always be reactionary in how you play. If you're always reacting to stuff, that's advantage defense. So we teach in such a way that he can anticipate what's happening right now in front of him, so he can make a quicker decision, for our offense, and those reps help that to get the fuzzy logic in your head. So when you see that pattern again, the visual pattern again in front of you, the decisions happen faster. We can get the ball out of our hand quicker and deliver it, for success.
Ken, in the offseason, you guys put in a lot of effort to bring in 6 new receivers, 4 here now.
Mm-hmm.
You went out and got a left tackle, moving weight over to guard, to
Yep.
solidify things there. How much do those moves you made help out the quarterback position?
We're always in a constant state of improvement, right? And that's always in flux, but I believe it's going to help a lot. Our talent level at receiver is a lot higher at this point. We are probably going to rely on a couple of young guys, to produce, but they have the talent level to produce. The moves up front, I think, are going to help us, and it builds into the overall confidence of each individual player, but more importantly, collectively as an offense, where Payton trusts what's going on in front of him more, right? Which should create a calmer atmosphere from thinking through, his decisions that maybe he had last year.
Got to ask you about Hank Brown before we let you go. How much did what he was able to do in the bowl game give him more confidence? Was he able to bring some of that to the spring? And how is that competition going?
Yeah, Hank's all our quarterbacks are doing pretty well right now. Hank's doing well. I recruited Hank for a while because I recruited him at Liberty and with Coach Freeze. The thing Hank is a very confident young man. Don't let his demeanor fool you, because he is as humble a person as you'll ever be around. His family's unbelievable. He was raised the right way. Hank gets it. Hank is calm. The thing that I told Coach Freeze over and over again, I watched Hank in really big games in high school, and he had a taskmaster in Trent Dilfer there who taught him well and really did a good job with him. Hank always played better when the lights were on. Always. Some guys are practice players and not as much, come game time or their play goes down. Others are the opposite. Hank's the opposite. Hank always played his best game when it mattered most, and the team he was facing was a tougher opponent. And I was really drawn to that, and drawn to his demeanor, drawn to what Trent put on his plate as a high school quarterback. Most high school quarterbacks aren't in that environment. Trent treated his program as a college program. He was over several hours there, every Sunday, right, putting in the game plan with the coaching staff. So he was conditioned emotionally and mentally more as a high school player to make the transfer to the next level than what you typically see. And I think that's what you saw manifest in that game. It was freezing cold that game, and I think he threw like 8 balls, and I walked over to him before he went to the game and said, "Hey, you've been sitting all day long." He said, "You want more?" So he said, "No, Coach, I'm good." He just went in the game and did what he did. So that's him. That's his demeanor, and it's served him well in his career so far.
Do you want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 settled coming out of spring, or 1, 2, or do you want to carry this on?
I think we should have an idea, but unless there is a clear-cut hierarchy, then we need to take it into the fall.
And then Walker White's your freshman.
Super
I don't
talented.
think he lacks for confidence either.
No, he does not.
What have you seen on him?
But similar to our other guys, he's very confident. All our guys are super confident, but again, Walker's a really good person, right? And so that also comes out, and he's not. You can have a confident humility, if that makes sense. An arrogant confidence that is completely inwardly focused is what is detrimental. Our guys don't have that, and Walker has a confident humility, and he wants to compete and he wants to be the guy, but so do the other ones, right? He's got all the tools. He's got great size. He's super strong, great arm, really accurate. He has a surprising recall for a brand new offense, new terminology. His recall's a little bit better than I was anticipating. Not that was a negative at all. It's just sometimes, when you get a lot thrown at you in a short period of time, recall becomes the issue. And being able to, you can have something told to you an hour ago, but recalling it right now after not having repped it is a real great trait, and he has that.